I got in. I got into the university I wanted. All it took was a 2-hour test. But not only that, I was 4th out of thousands of applicants. And being 4th makes me eligible for an 80% scholarship. Now, to see whether I got the scholarship, you're gonna have to subscribe because that video is coming. To see how I prepared for the test I took, you can click up here. But right now I'm gonna break down the real test that I took. This is the actual test that I took and the actual mistakes I made. So let's dive in and see the mistakes I made and how I could have avoided them. Hey everybody, my name is Emiliano and I'm a medical student. Anyway, before breaking down the HUMAT, which is what the test is called, let me give you 5 very fast stats. Number 1, there are 50 places for international students and 130 places for EU students. I was competing for 1 out of those 50 international places. Last year, over 1,500 people took the HUMAT in an attempt to get one of these 180 places. Of those 1,500, 50% pass. That's 750 people. Of those 750 people, the university only considers 300 for a spot. Anything below that isn't really eligible. And the 5th and final statistic is that I was 4th out of all of these people, and I had 142 points out of a total of 180. This got me A, pre-enrolled, and B, it made me, along with the other top 10 candidates, eligible for an 80% scholarship. See, I already got the results, so you're gonna have to click on these videos to get further information on that. Now, these are my stats. As you can see here, my name, my birthday, my overall score, 142 points. As you can see, I wasn't lying. You have 60 questions. Of that, there is 2 main areas in the HUMAT. There's this like logical reasoning thing, like visual thinking, procedural thinking area. And then there's these academic literacy tests. Of the 60 questions that there are, I got 50 correct, I got 8 wrong, and I didn't answer 2. Now, correct answers give you +3 points. Wrong answers give you -1 point, and these give you 0. So I thought it was better to not answer than to risk being wrong. So these were all honest mistakes, and I wasn't guessing. So anyway, let's go over the 8 questions I got wrong, and then I'm gonna go through one of each of the 3 different types of questions there are, so you can see what types of questions you'll be facing if you do the IMAT. So I already went through and highlighted the ones that are red. The first one is over here. Now, I hadn't studied math in a long time, so a lot of these mathematical thinking questions really got me. You can read this question here, and I was fumbling right now. I had no idea what I was doing. I was disorientated. It was like 5 or 4 in the morning, and I took a wild guess. I haven't done logs in a long time, and retrospectively, I know that I should have left this blank, but I chose 3, and the correct answer was -3. This might seem obvious to some of you, and this might seem like a dumb mistake, but honestly, I was confused, and maybe it was a dumb mistake. I'll admit it. If anybody can explain why in the comments, that'd be great, because I'm still struggling to understand it. But yeah, moving on. The second one I got wrong was this one, and this is procedural thinking. Guido sees 5 components labeled A, B, C, D, E. And then they give you these characteristics that they have to meet. Now, take into account that you only have 2 minutes to read the question, interpret the information that you've been given, and then decide which one is right and which one is wrong. So I thought I was right here. And moving on, we have, this one was tough, I think. And this is again, mathematical thinking. I was reading this. Do you know what happens when you read a word over and over again and it stops making sense? That's what happened to me with this question. I was completely overwhelmed by this question, and I thought it was right, but like here I can clearly see that the squares are the one that are lowest, right? Because you have 4 here and 2 here, and these are these weigh more, but it's 4, and these 2 weigh the same as this, and then that the circles are the heaviest ones. And retrospectively, it's really clear, but right now, in the moment, I was not feeling this question at all. And again, this one, procedural thinking, not my cup of tea, not my strong suit whatsoever. So you have 3 boxes labeled 1, 2, and 3, and they each contain 3 letters. You take 1 letter from each box, and then place each letter in a box other than the one you just took it from, and you do that twice. And then they give you these, and this was a sort of educated guess, because in my head it didn't make sense. I didn't consider this one because it didn't make sense that these 2 or these 3 were the same as these. That's why I didn't choose this one. And I chose this one because they were all different, but I couldn't look too closely because you have 2 minutes per question, and yeah, 2 minutes is not a long time. And I was already feeling behind because I spent so long with the first question, but I'll talk about that later. And this is visual thinking. The question is, a computer is being assembled, the black dots represent pins, and the CPU pins must fit the holes, represented as white dots. Also, the triangles must match. So you've got to do this. So they've got to be mirror images, so to speak. And obviously, they're not going to make it easy for you, so they turn them. So you have to, in your head, rotate each of these so that this triangle is here and these 2 dots are here, and just to make it an extra bit harder. So I thought it was this one, but I didn't take into account that it had to be mirror images. So this one is correct if you were to put them like this. But since you're not, and you have to put them like this one is the correct one. But it made, in my head, it made no sense at the time. Again, I was rushing through them. I was a bit nervous. This one is the next wrong one. Again, visual thinking. The time is 4:30. A thief is hanging upside down. There's a clock on the wall. So these are upside down. You're viewing these upside down. The time is 4:50. Which view of the clock can he see? So if you imagine a clock, you have 12, you have 3, there's going to be 4. 5 is going to be around here. This is 5, and this is around 50. So this is going to be the long one. This is the center, and this is going to be the short one, right? This is how it's supposed to look. So if you grab this and turn it upside down, this is how it's supposed to look like. And as you can see, it matches. I don't know why I chose this one. Again, what I should have done here is I should have, on the piece of paper I had next to me on my desk, I should have drawn this thing. I should have drawn out the circle, done what I just did, and then physically grabbed the paper and turned it around. But I didn't. And I got it wrong. So be sure to not get nervous and take your time. You won't regret it. I mean, I would have gotten this correct if I had just taken 30 more seconds to actually draw it out and stuff. But yeah, what can you do? So it's question 30. And that's the 30 questions for the logical, reasoning, procedural, mathematical thinking things. And then you start with the 30 academic literacy papers. And the way these work is that you get one passage, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. And small trick, each question is related to a paragraph. So question 1, you're going to find the answer to question 1 in paragraph 1. Same with question 2, same with question 3 in each paragraph. So that was a nice bonus tip for you guys. And let's first read question 5. One feature of desiccant-based water harvesters is that they, and the easiest way to do these, any multiple choice question, but especially these academic literacy ones, is to eliminate the ones that you know are incorrect. And then, so you read the question, you read the passage, you come back to the questions, and you can already sort of eliminate the ones you know are incorrect. So these two I knew were incorrect, and I was between these two. So what I did was leave it and then come back, and this is where I got my answer from, this blue part. Since it's mentioning cooling towers and food and beverage production, I thought the correct answer was that they can be deployed for projects of different scales. But the real answer was that desiccants have lower energy consumptions and higher waste extraction efficiency. And that was what they wanted me to answer. And that was one mistake I made in these. And the second one was here in the first paragraph. The writer mentions Venus in the first paragraph in order to, and I knew it wasn't this one. And I knew it wasn't this one. So I was between these two, and I thought, okay, so he's talking about a string of discoveries, or they're talking about a string of discoveries that have boosted the idea that ET life might also be abundant. And then he talks about the poisonous atmosphere in Venus that supports the view that life might flourish even in seemingly hostile places. But since he was talking earlier about strings of discoveries, I thought that it was going to lend weight to an argument about the possibility of ET life. But apparently he was they were underlying the significance of some ongoing research. And again, this is where I got my answer from, and this is the only place they wanted us to get the answers. So that's all the ones I got wrong. That's 8. Now let's go through the 4 different types of questions, just so you can see how you would do. So let's go through question number 1. Question number 1 was tricky because it took me a long time, because I click the link, I open it up, and this is all I'm seeing. Consider this law and answer the question that follows. Now, just by saying consider this law, I have no idea what law they're talking about. I haven't studied physics yet. I haven't taken physics since 8th grade. I was panicking. So all of this, I read 2 or 3 times. This has taken me 4 or 5 minutes. And then I'm trying to understand the formula and trying to look for numbers to see if I have to substitute something, thinking this is math. And then I read the question. I scroll down and I read the question. And the question is simply, at a constant flow rate, what happens to the pressure difference if the pipe length and radius are both divided by 3? And I'm mentally kicking myself because you can answer this by logic. So if you have a tube that's 3 meters long and you make it 1 meter, what's going to happen? Pressure is going to go up. And now, if you have a tube that has a 30 centimeter radius and you make it 10 centimeters and the same exact amount of liquid is going through or whatever, what's going to happen? Pressure is going to go up again. So here, I just had to guesstimate which answer it was. So I knew it wasn't these because this pressure isn't increasing in this, it's decreasing. I just had to decide whether it was this one or this one. And honestly, this was kind of a lucky guess. My logic told me it was this one. I couldn't really rationalize why, but I was like, okay, let's go with this one. And I did it, and I was right. So, moral of the story, read questions first. But this is one type of mathematical thinking question that you're bound to come across. Or this is a type of mathematical thinking question. We've seen others before. Now, the second question we're going to go through is question 19 again. So, again, a lot of information here. It's really overwhelming. You read this and you're like, oh my God, a lot of information. So, Williams is studying whether different animals need amino acids in their diet. He performs experiments on each of 5 different animal species. So these are animals. these are amino acids. And for most amino acids, there's no effect. And here you have to take into consideration that N is no change, weight, W is weight loss, E is exhaustion, and D is death. And you have to read the whole thing to get to that, and you need to because it's important. And now, the way I work this out is through process of elimination. So by process of elimination, we're gonna have to eliminate each of these. Let's start with D. So, of the amino acids on the table, cis and lis are the ones whose absence leads to the lowest fatality rate. So let's see, cis and lis. Yes, lowest fatality rate, yes, because there are no Ds. So no death means no fatality rate whatsoever, and that's good. And but there's two problems with this. You're not inferring the data because it's clearly stated, right? There is no death, so there is no fatality rate. And it doesn't take into account LEU or LU, because there is also no deaths here. There is also no fatality rate with an absence of LU, but it doesn't say that. So this one was off. Species Y needs the most amino acid types to be healthy. And no, because the healthiest one without any amino acids is this weird E here, where it only dies once, and this one dies twice. And the one that's least healthy, or that would need the most number of amino acids, it could also be this alpha over here that dies twice. So again, no, because you're not inferring anything, and that does not answer your question. So not C. And B, if an animal needs his to be healthy, this one, then it also needs ASP. And there's no correlation here between his and ASP. And the ones that some die, so some die with D and die with ASP, and some die with ASP and don't die with ASP, and then some don't die but do die here. So again, there's no correlation, and the only one we're left with is A, which is exhaustion is the most common symptom of amino acid deficiency. So yeah, again, procedural thinking, you really have to structure your thoughts and know what you're doing and really understand the question so you can have a process by which you answer the question. The second to last wrong question we're going to look at is question 5, and this is visual thinking. And okay, look at the information and answer the question that follows. 4 artists are competing, blah blah blah. The artists are allowed to use 2 rhomboidal tiles shown below, so these 2, with only 2 restrictions, and this is the important part. For adjacent tiles, both the pattern and the position of the curves across the shared edges must match. So that's your key. Now, which of these designs will win the competition? So this is visual thinking, and you have to really look at what you're being presented. So you start off, and this all seems like it matches, this all matches, this matches, everything is matching, and you look here, and you have this one, and then you have this one. And this matches with this, but this does not match with this in any way. So this is out. And then B, right off the bat, right in the middle, you have this. You have one like pattern here and another pattern here. So this one is done. And then you look at this one, you can't find it. You say, okay, maybe I'm not looking well. Let's go to D. And immediately 2 things jump out here. Lines match, patterns do not match. And then if you need further convincing, lines don't match here at all. So this one is done, and you're left with C. And now if we want to look at one of these, I got all of these right. So for example, let's see. What problem with the high-speed train did Eiji Nakatsu set out to solve? So we go to the passage, and they've been really kind, and they've put the train right here that you can clearly tell that's talking about the train. So right now, we read blah blah blah, air pressure, large thunderclaps every time the train emerged from a tunnel. causing residents to complain. So this is the problem, right? Large thunderclaps and people complaining. And the chief engineer solved the issue and even allowed the train to travel faster. So if we go back to the question, it was affected by variable track speed? No. It was a source of ongoing disturbance? Yes. It had high operating costs? Not mentioned. Not mentioned. So again, you just have to really read carefully, read the questions, and then look in the text for the answers, and you should be fine. And yeah, that was the HUMAT test. I have this in PDF and pictures if you want to crack at it yourself and see how you would have done. I was 4th and I had 142. The top is 180. So if you want to take a crack at it, reach out. You can drop your email in the comments, or you can tell me and I'll send it to you, or you can email me, or you can reach out on social media. I'm going to talk about the scholarships next week, or soon at least, so make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was somewhat educational for you, and I hope it helped you in your quest to get into a good medical school like I did, and into maybe score high enough that you are offered a scholarship. Cheers.